Welcome everyone to today's webinar, How to Use Marketing Automation to Increase Your Bookings. My name is Matt. I'm the founder of Q4Launch, and we are excited that you guys are along for the ride with us today. I want to welcome everybody. Those of you who are with us for the first time, we're glad that you're here, glad you stumbled across our webinar series. At this point, our webinar series is followed by about 8,000 people in the hospitality industry, which is super exciting and humbling, knowing on our first webinar, we had to beg people to come about 4 years ago. I didn't know if anybody was going to show up, but it's been exciting how this has grown. And those of you that have been coming for all 4 years, I know there's a lot of you that were on our first one that still come today and have probably been on over 100 webinars we've done. Thank you as well. It's always exciting to see the names of who's registered and the relationships that represents, and appreciate getting to meet so many of you at conferences that I speak at and so forth. Thank you for that and coming up and telling me how you've employed the strategies we've talked about to grow your business. If this is your first time with us, just a little bit about Q4 Launch, and then we will go from there. We are in the destination marketing business. So we work with some of the top destinations, specifically on the lodging side of the industry, around the world, from Singapore to Maui, with a lot of our customers in the United States. It's a exciting space to work in. We're based out of Charleston, South Carolina. Have a team of about 40 people, headquartered out of the Charleston area, which is a great place to be in the hospitality business and a great place to call home. We are all gearing up for being the #1 place in the country to see the total solar eclipse on Monday. So quite a lot of talk around Charleston around that topic. So. With that, a little bit of housekeeping. We will be sending a recording of today's webinar out. So if you've been with us before, you know I tend to talk through the content pretty quickly. If this is your first time with us, I'd recommend having a pad of paper nearby so you can take some great notes, but we will be sending a recording out as well. We'll also have an opportunity for you to kind of take a next step at the end to get the next step going in your marketing automation journey. I know from some of the comments that went out or that came into us via the emails going out that this is kind of, to some of you, it's a new concept. To some of you, it may be old hat and you're just trying to pick up some new ideas today. But if it's a new concept, there are some great next steps you can take, as well as we'll have some time for Q&A at the end of our time together. So with that, let's dive into our topic today and see what we can learn together. As we do that, we want to set you up with a understanding of what is marketing automation. If it's a new concept for you, we really want to get into that. It's a massively trending topic in the marketing space as a whole, something we've been doing for years and years and years, and that we're getting increasingly sophisticated on, and it's a great opportunity. But as a term, if you Google it, it refers to the software and strategies designed to generate leads and automatically nurture those leads into bookings. So that's kind of our definition of it. We're going to talk more about strategy today than we are software today. The great news is, because of the growth of it as a marketing strategy, a lot of the software around it has grown tremendously as well. And the main purpose is it seeks to automate many of the repetitive tasks that we face as marketers on a daily basis. So the #1 reason that we hear people aren't doing marketing as consistently or as effectively as they would like to be, and in reality, probably all of us wish we were doing more marketing. No matter how much we're doing, we probably wish we had more because we understand the effectiveness of it. The #1 thing we hear isn't budget, it's actually time. We know the two scarcest resources we have in our economy are time and money, and time is usually the scarcest part when it comes to marketers being able to do more marketing. Insert marketing automation, being able to create more efficiency with your time and get more done is a really important part of that overall process. So why marketing automation? I kind of led to it a little bit there, but time and money. I mean, that's the biggest reason why. The cost of developing an email campaign is a relatively fixed cost. You know, it takes you however long it takes you, depending on how good you are at it, anywhere from 2 hours to some people have told me it takes them an entire day to create a campaign, which is not a good place to be. But the time to create a campaign and the cost of creating a campaign, from any creative you need created, or any artwork you're going to buy for that, or the software costs associated with it, there's a lot of costs associated with developing email campaigns, which is a lot of times when you think about marketing automation, a lot of it wraps around email. There's greater value created by automation and relevancy. So if you think about a traditional email campaign, you create it, you send it once, and you might do a resend to your database of people that didn't open it. You might not, but you probably will never send that exact same email campaign ever again. So you put the time and effort into it, you created it, you sent it, you got the results that you got, and hopefully they were great, and hopefully you had a great ROI on it. Typically you do. Email marketing has the highest ROI of any medium out there. So that's great, and that's really exciting. So definitely keep doing it. But the value of that campaign, as soon as the traffic spike you get and the bookings you get is gone, like it's over. Whereas creating marketing automation campaigns, which have a very similar process to them, continues to pay dividends for years and years and years. So some great time spent, some time well spent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's a marketing asset that will produce bookings for you for years to come instead of just next week. So this doesn't replace standalone email campaigns or ad hoc email campaigns to drive bookings at a specific window of time. Like if you need bookings for next week, this marketing automation doesn't replace that. Marketing automation is to create drips that go to people based off of different things that are happening in their life cycle with you. And we're going to dive into some of those today. So a few types of marketing automation we're going to cover. Event or date-based. So based on blank event, these emails go out typically. Trigger-based. If your guest does this, you do this. So their action triggers your marketing action. Or persona-based. Those are the main three we're going to cover today. There's a lot of others that we could cover, but those are the main three that we're going to focus our time together on today and try to dive into those and share some ideas on those. All right, so let's start getting into unpacking it a little bit. As we look at it, one of the things that we need to think about is that most campaigns are segments with multiple branches. So if you think about like an if-then statement, most campaigns are segments with multiple branches, as opposed to a traditional email campaign that has one campaign per se. So it's one email that goes out. Most marketing automation campaigns either have a segment or a sequence of emails that's going to go out, or they'll have branches if you start factoring in some of the trigger-based stuff, and it will branch off and say, if my guest does this, then send this. If they don't do this, then do this. So you start creating those branches, and as you're process mapping that, it's a really important part of that overall flow. So you've got to change the way you're thinking about it a little bit, because you don't want to create a marketing automation campaign that's just one email. In most cases, there are some exceptions to that, but in most cases, it is a nurturing sequence that occurs, not an individual email. So we wanted to change the way we think about marketing automation there a little bit. And you also have to understand the 5 stages of travel. If you've been with us on webinars before, I talk about this on almost every single webinar, because it's such an important part of the marketing decisions that we're making. But this comes out of a research study that Google did in 2011. And once you see it on the screen, you're like, wow, that's not rocket science. But you have to get inside the mind of the vacationer. And what they found through their research study was the vacation process actually consists of 5 unique stages: dreaming, planning, booking, experiencing, and remembering. And you have to really think about people in each of those stages independently. As an industry, talking travel industry as a whole, we focus a massive amount of marketing dollars at the booking stage. But as an industry, we fail consumers in a pretty big way on the dreaming and planning stage, in my opinion. So you really need to be thinking about dreaming and planning as a part of your marketing process. We also fail consumers to do marketing well in the experience stage. We deliver a great experience, but we don't market to people well in the experience. If you asked yourself, how are you marketing to your guests while they're on property? The answer is probably not real well. Like, you're probably not doing a lot of marketing to guests while they're on property. And then the remembering stage. And how do we market to a segment of guests that have stayed with us before and is most likely to be our future guests? And they will be our best future guests. We know that repeat guests are our best guests. They're our most profitable guests. they're the most likely to make a booking with us as a segment of the industry. So we need to invest in marketing to past guests, but we should invest in marketing to past guests differently than we're investing in marketing to guests that have never stayed with us before. If you think about who those two people are, the guest who's never stayed with you before has very different questions than the guest who has stayed with you before. And they have different needs, and they want to know different things, and they want to see different things. The guest who's stayed with you before is more willing and more likely to take a last-minute trip to your destination because they know you. So there's a lot of things as we think about marketing automation and you think about starting to build some marketing automation campaigns, mapping them within these 5 stages will be tremendously beneficial to you as you're planning your strategy out. So I'll have to take a couple more pauses today and probably go a little slower than I normally do. I've got a little bit of throat thing going on here. Probably the perks of having an under 2-year-old in our house, constantly getting sick in ways I never used to, but she's sweet, so that makes up for it. So we're going to talk about event and date-based marketing automation ideas. We're just going to throw a couple ideas out at you and would love for you to spend some time brainstorming these. Would also love for you to contribute ideas that pop into your mind, and the chat panel is a great way to do that. So if you want to throw some ideas in the chat panel, I'll read those out and share them with everybody else that's on today's webinar. But one is booking confirmation, right? I mean, we're probably all sending a booking confirmation email out. If I asked that question in an audience, I would bet that 95, if not 100% of people would raise their hand. They're sending an automated booking confirmation email. The fact that you're sending an automated booking confirmation email means you are doing marketing automation. So congratulations, you are engaged at some level in marketing automation, but you're probably not thinking about that email as a marketing opportunity, when in reality, that email is a great marketing opportunity. That email starts the time between the booking stage and the experience stage. And as an industry, very few of us do that stage well. It's called the anticipation stage. So if we break those 5 stages down into sub-stages, there are sub-stages that exist within each of those. But the anticipation phase is a tremendous opportunity from a marketing perspective that very few people have done anything with. And something that we're studying a lot right now and doing a lot of work on as a company. But think about that differently. If you just think about what I said a few minutes ago about break out of the mindset of individual email and think about a sequence. If your booking confirmation changed from an individual email to a sequence of emails, what would that look like? What goals would you want to accomplish with that campaign? What opportunities would exist? How could you deliver a better guest experience? How could you use that to reduce phone calls, which would reduce your staff time spent on the phone, which they could do more productive things with? Or you could take that time and maybe cut back on staffing because you had less. We never like to talk about that piece of it, but that's a possibility. You could do more with less. Lots of opportunities around that. How could you drive greater profit and other profit centers that might exist within your business? So maybe you have a spa, or maybe you have a restaurant or a bar or some other profit center inside of your business. During stay, this is one of those things I mentioned just a minute ago, but how are you marketing to your guests during the experience stage of travel? The check-in, asking for the review, offering promos for future stays. Research shows us that leading up to and at the very beginning of a guest stay is the highest satisfaction point. Yet most of us wait till they have left to market to them. So that's a really important thing to think about, right? How do we market to people during stay to get them to come back and stay with us again? To ask for a review. This is something we're looking at as well. We've actually just launched the 5-star app so that you can send a review request, and you can send it at any point you want, but you can send a review request via text message to your guests during their stay. You can do it after checkout as well, but you can do it during their stay, because what we found is you get greater reviews, more 5-star reviews, if you ask them 24 hours after check-in. It also gives you an opportunity to proactively solve any issues they have so that they'll still leave you a 5-star review even though they had that issue. There's all additional research that says a guest with a negative issue that is proactively and effectively addressed and communicated has a better experience than a guest that didn't experience a negative at all. So take that away. Like, And how do you work that into your process? The guest that had a negative experience, but you did a great job solving their problem, is actually more likely to leave you a 5-star review than the guest that had a normal experience, because you have had the opportunity to show what you're made of. You've had the opportunity to show great customer service, and they appreciate it when somebody steps up and surprises them with great customer service. And let's be honest, even in today's incredibly competitive travel world, and it's more competitive than it has ever been as an industry, so you got to pay attention to that too. But people don't expect great customer service. They want it, but they're still surprised when they get it. So that's a great thing. And that promo for a future stay, a huge opportunity. Anniversary of booking. Is it time to get away again? Maybe that's your message on that email. So the anniversary of their booking, the date that they actually made the booking, because whatever happens in their life, they were thinking about booking at that time of year last year. Maybe they're thinking about it again this year. You might not know why they booked, but you know when they booked. And by knowing when they booked, the why could be happening again. You might not have their birthday, but maybe that's the why. And in the same time of year, every year, they're going to think about booking their birthday trip because it's going to happen the same time every year, right? Actual anniversaries and birthdays and other life events, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those types of things. Now, Mother's Day, Father's Day tends to get more towards traditional email campaigns, but you get what I'm saying here, like those life events, those dates on the calendar that people make bookings off of. Another great one, and I was actually staying at the Grove Park Inn. My wife and I went up there for our anniversary. It's a Historic Hotels of America property. We work closely with Historic Hotels of America. I have a great partnership with them. And we went up to the Grove Park for our anniversary this year. And I shouldn't have, right? So hopefully my wife's not on today's webinar. She actually gets the invitation. Somehow she got on our list. But after we checked in, about 24 hours later, I got an email that said, hey, your room is available the night after you check out. Would you like to book it at 50% off? And had I not had a less than 2-year-old at home who was with a babysitter for 2 nights, that probably would have got me to take an extra PTO day on Monday and stay another night, because wow, 50% off at the Grove Park, get the chance to extend my anniversary. They caught me in that moment where I was at that height of my vacation. They actually caught me before I went down to the pool and was sitting there still listening to running and screaming children. So they caught me at that moment right after check-in where I had the opportunity. I was having that welcome experience. Everything was awesome. They hit me with that email. The part I was going to say, don't tell my wife, was that I checked my email right after check-in. But they caught me at that moment, and that's a great opportunity. That extend your stay email is a great example of that. A couple things contributed here in the chat panel. We do an email 4 days before guests arrive to reassure them the reservation is intact and to see if they have any questions. That's excellent. Thanks, Jessica. And that's it. That's just one more step of communication. Triggers that 4 days before check-in. Do you have any questions? Make sure that they know. And that probably reduces calls for Jessica's team. Reduces calls of, I just want to make sure everything's okay. Like, well, you don't need to call and make sure everything's okay. We emailed you. Like, it's probably reducing calls. Jessica, I'd say there's probably an opportunity there to think about how else can you use that email to drive greater guest satisfaction and guest bookings or other profit centers if they exist inside your company. In addition to another comment here, in addition to booking confirmation, auto emails include my local restaurant recommendation and offer to make a reservation at the restaurant. That's great. I also send a welcome letter. It seems it would make sense to revise it at least monthly and include a calendar of local events. It definitely could. If you want to revise that at least monthly, you absolutely could. So would encourage you to do that. Even better if you could find a way to feed those local events in via like a short code or an API feed into that email. That'd be even better, because then you wouldn't have to update that manually. But that's a technology thing you'd have to kind of work through with your reservation provider and your software provider. All right, let's move right along. Trigger-based marketing automation ideas. Let's talk about a few of those. And we're going to talk about some lead intelligence in this as well. And before I go a little bit further, I want to talk about lead generation for a minute, make sure we're all on the same page with what that is. A lot of people don't do lead generation in the travel industry. Actually, I think we're one of the only companies that really focuses on the value of lead generation. But the concept is that there are people in the dreaming and planning stage who are on your website every single day. There are people in the dreaming and planning stage on your website right now. And it is the vast majority of people. There are also people who are in the booking stage on your website, hopefully right now, and hopefully you're going to get that booking. And people in the experience stage, they go to your website while they're experiencing it because they need to find some information, and in the remembering stage. So they're in all 5 of those stages on your website. But lead generation is the opportunity to get a random person, an anonymous person who's on your website, to convert into a lead when they're in that part of the funnel, when they're in the dreaming and planning stage of the funnel, or when they're in the remembering stage and we want to convert them back into a guest for next year. It's an opportunity to generate a lead. And when I say a lead, I mean I'm gathering information on a specific person that I know, and I have the opportunity to market to them directly as a result of that. So that's a big deal. And getting those leads is a big deal. Getting their name, email, phone number. And it's a huge opportunity because instead of random people coming to your website, or more specifically, anonymous people coming to your website that you can't market to, when you generate leads, you have name, email, phone number, as well as possibly other information. You can market to those people using marketing automation specifically with a message that is on point for them. And that will dramatically increase your overall conversion ratio on leads, on bookings. Industry-wide, about 0.5% of people that come to your website every day will make a booking. 0.5%, which means out of 1,000 people, 5 people will make a booking in any given day or any given month, which means 995 people won't book with you. In reality, probably 5 more people will call you and book with you, but that still means 990 people won't make a booking. So there's a tremendous opportunity. There's 990 people you're not reaching. There's 990 people you're not capturing, and lead generation can help you do that. Then that is one of the things that can trigger marketing automation to run. So if you've generated leads, and that's why I set all this up, because we're making the assumption you have generated leads on some of these bullet points. But if you have cold leads revisiting your website, you could generate automated marketing that goes out to that person. So what do I mean by a cold lead? I generate a lead, they come to my website, they download something, they request something, they become a lead. They're not responding to the marketing automation sequence that they get entered into when they become a lead, and 30 days later, they have not booked. That's a cold lead. Most bookings happen within 72 hours of becoming a lead. So really anything over 72 hours is a cold lead, but definitely 30 days is a cold lead. Now, and that cold leads come back to your website. Probably right now you have no idea if that person comes back to your website, when in reality you should know if that person's back on your website. And if that person is back on your website, a lead that didn't book is back on your website, you should be marketing to that person specifically. And you should be marketing to that person differently than you are to other people. They should not have the same experience everyone else is having, because they are more likely to book with you than anybody else who came to your website. Because you have information, they've become a lead, you can market to them, and you can automate that. You can also track that and have a report of information about that. Past guests revisiting your website is a great example of this as well. So if a guest has booked with you last year, fast forward 6 months, it's booking season again, and they're back on your website, you need to know that. If a past guest is back on your website, how do you know that? How do you understand that? How do you market to that person differently than someone who's a cold lead who's never booked with you before, or an anonymous person who's on your site and you don't even know who they are, which in reality is most everyone on your website. Trigger-based stuff, if they click this, then send this. So that's another example, and there are thousands of examples of this, so I just left it as an if-then statement. If they click this website, if they click this page on the website, if they do this, if they interact like this, if they watch this video, if they download this, if they generate as a lead here, if they go to my We're Hiring page, all of these things are if-then statements. If they respond, if they open my email, if they click on a link in my email, if they read this blog, like, you can create massive amounts of marketing campaigns, or marketing automation campaigns, but you got to focus on the highest value ones, right? What is your path to booking, and how do you guide people back to that path from wherever they are? And what have you learned about someone based off where they are on your website or what they're interacting with on an email? And then how do you respond with that information to then send this? That's a really important part of that process. Vacation rental guest campaigns to create real estate leads. So there's a lot of the vacation rental companies that we work with that also have real estate divisions. And this can be really effective. Sending a checkout guest campaign to create real estate leads for your real estate division can be very effective. And that's a marketing automation you can run that when guests check out at the end of the week, or maybe it's before they check out, you got to kind of figure out the right timing of that. But before they check out or at checkout, being able to send them an automated campaign. So you don't have to go in and email John specifically. You just send in, like your system just sends an email to John that says, I hope you had a great trip. If you're ever considering buying real estate in Charleston, we'd love to talk to you. And hopefully you've got some stronger language, stronger call to action than that, but you get the idea, that type of picture. And you can think of tons of other trigger-based marketing ideas, I'm sure. Haven't seen any contributed to the chat panel, so maybe none are coming to mind. But there's lots of other opportunities for trigger-based marketing automation ideas to really drive that home. And that if-then is really, really effective. Something I didn't get in here is a slide, but open rates and click-through rates on marketing automation campaigns are dramatically higher than they are on traditional email campaigns. So to kind of put that in perspective of open rate, the average email campaign in the travel industry has a 20% open rate. The average marketing automation campaign, not in the travel industry, but just in general, has a 70% open rate. So because the marketing automation is happening to someone who has taken an action, has stayed with you before, is higher qualified, ultimately is what we're measuring, the statistics are much, much higher. The other reason we might have lost audio there for a minute. Can everybody hear me okay? Drop in the chat panel if you can hear me okay. All right, can you guys hear me at all? Can you put in the chat panel if you can hear me? All right, we should have audio back. Is everybody there? Everybody there? Can y'all hear me? Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sorry about that. I'm not sure. My phone decided to drop the call. I always call in on my phone so that we're not relying on we have a VoIP system here at work as well. So I call in on my cell phone to avoid that. And today, I guess the eclipse is coming, right? Maybe we'll blame it on that. But sorry about that. So I was saying we didn't see any trigger-based email campaigns in the chat panel or ideas. So we'll keep moving along here, but that's there's so many opportunities that lie inside of that. And then we were talking about the statistics. The statistics of email marketing automation campaigns compared to regular email campaigns are tremendously higher. So that relevancy of that message, the fact that the recipient is more qualified, all contributes to that. But as you're thinking about investing marketing time and money, this is a great place to invest it because the results you'll see will typically be much higher than those you'd see from investing in just a traditional marketing, email marketing campaign. Email marketing as a tool sees a 43-to-1 return on investment. So not dogging that. Like that's a really strong ROI. You need to keep that in your strategy. You just probably need to think about more opportunities to add marketing automation to your strategy. All right, the other one we were going to talk about was persona-based marketing automation. So this is, you're starting to build a persona. You got an adventure traveler, a family traveler, a romance traveler, a girlfriend getaway traveler. And how do you market to that person once you have them in that persona? Once you build personas of who your travelers are, so that's where it starts, right? You got to start with building an accurate guest persona. I've made a few up here for the example. These may not be yours, but we've made a few up. You got to build those personas and think about how do you nurture that person differently. Last minute deal bookers could be a persona for you. And drive markets or deal driven people, they're very value focused. Then you create content relevant to the segment or the persona that you're talking to. And you also have you have to have an opportunity to identify what persona they are. So you know the personas of people who come to your inn or you come to your vacation or come to your destination. You know those people, and you could probably, and you need to do this, like with your team, you need to map out those personas that are coming to your property, understanding the target market that you're working with. But then how do you market to those people? And the trick to this is how do you get them to identify which persona that they're in? So you could, like at check-in, if you do a traditional check-in and you have a desk and you meet guests and you have a CRM or a customer relationship management tool, you could create personas at check-in, and you could train your staff to do that. As soon as they walk in the door, you immediately know what persona they fit with. In the cases that I'm showing you here, right? Now, you can go deeper than that. You may not know if they belong in the golf persona or not, because the golf persona is not as easy to just have a visual judgment glance on. But a lot of personas you can kind of do that with. And you could tag that in your CRM and say, hey, this guest, put them in this persona. They could also live in multiple personas. You know, for example, I live in the adventure persona. Like, that's kind of my life. I love zip lines. I love adventure. I love crazy stuff. I'm running over the Snowmass Pass in Colorado in a couple of weeks and about put myself in the hospital this last weekend because I trained too hard for that race. But I'm going to go run, 40 miles in Colorado, so I got to be ready for that. But that's my persona. But I'm also in the family persona, right? So I have a less than 2-year-old, so that's a persona for me on certain vacations. And I'm in the romance persona, right? I mean, I have a wife. We love to travel. We love doing things. I told you about our anniversary trip. I'm not in the girlfriend getaway persona. That's the only persona I'm not in. But I am in the bro getaway persona, like if that's a thing, okay? Which probably ties closely to the adventure persona, so there's some overlap. But the point being, someone could have multiple personas, and you could nurture them in each of those personas. I'm also in the golf persona. Even though every time I play golf, I swear I'm never going to play again because I'm terrible. But I love the idea of golf. I love being on the golf course. So you've got to think about these personas and how do you market to those people. But the trick to doing personas well isn't developing it. Like, you can do that. The trick to doing personas well is being able to get them to identify what persona they're on. If they're not in front of you or you're not on the phone with them, it's hard to get them to do that on your website. There are strategies to do that, and we can help with that. That's one of the things we do with our customers. But you have to really think differently about it. If someone's on my website hiding behind a screen and there's very little information about them, how do I figure out what persona they're in? There's lots of ways you can do that, but it does get a little more complicated. Digesting on your website, right? The blogs that they're reading could identify what personas that they're in. Some of the sites we've designed for our travel customers actually break personas out, and we will say, what type of trip are you looking for? And we'll have content built around different personas that they know come to their site. And if they click on that, that identifies that persona. And you can store that information in your CRM, and then you know that about that person. Now, you still have to get their email address and match those two things together. So that's a different marketing challenge, but an opportunity to create that persona and market to them effectively. And you will see dramatically higher performance if you're pushing specific packages, if you're pushing specific times a year. You'll see a lot higher performance on those campaigns if your message is on point to that person. So you think about the right hand, the far right of this shows some specials or some messages you might send to that person. 2 nights plus a zip line. Maybe your message, that may be what you're trying to get your adventure persona to book. 3 nights plus kids eat free at a local restaurant. Maybe your family persona. Families tend to take longer trips together, and they love when kids eat free because kids can be expensive to take out to eat. Romance, 2 nights plus champagne and roses. What would happen if you sent a 2 nights plus champagne and roses to somebody in the adventure persona? It probably wouldn't be on point for them. That message probably would not convert for them. In the same way, it might not convert if you send it to a girlfriend getaway. It's probably closer to the girlfriend getaway, But that really speaks romance. 2 nights plus manicure pedicure for 4, that's a girlfriend persona, right? That again would totally fail if you send it to your adventure persona. And if you send it to your entire database, a lot of it would fail because a lot of your database may not be in the girlfriend getaway persona. Now they may be in the romance persona, and there could be some overlap there, right? Because maybe, part of that would be a mani-pedi as part of a romance getaway or a massage or whatever. Couples massages are big in both the girlfriend getaway and the romance massage. So there's lots of ways you can skin this, but you got to really dive in and figure those things out. And the way I really recommend doing this is starting with your persona, figuring those out and describing these people the best way you can, and then start creating a map of what this person looks like. What pages are they going to go to on my website? What are the conversion opportunities on those pages for people? What is the special or package that they would respond to? What type of property are they going to book? Are they going to book the 10-bedroom or the 6-bedroom house that sleeps 10, or are they going to book the 2-bedroom condo? You got to understand those things. Are they going to book the honeymoon suite, or are they going to book the least expensive room that we have? Are they going to book the 2-bedroom suite with the bathroom in the middle for the family persona? Like, you start really thinking through some of these things, and your marketing can get much more effective and much more on point. Now, at the same time, it's also much more time consuming, which is why you want to build the automation into this. You go through this process once, and then you're updating it on a relatively regular basis, but you're not rebuilding personas all the time. You might build new ones as you learn new target demographics or as your destination changes and is attracting a different traveler, but you're building that persona and then you're building automation to be able to run to those personas. I had a question here from Lisa I want to answer now because it's really relevant to this, and it's, how do you recommend tracking guest personas? That's a great question. I'm actually going to answer it here in a minute with some things, but I want to expand on it for you, Lisa, and for everybody else. And it really, there has to be software involved. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to do this without, I would say it's impossible to do this. I'll go that far. It's impossible to do this without software at some level. The better the software you have, the easier it is to do it. You first have to know who the person is. It has to be a real person. Now, there are ways you can use marketing personas outside of marketing automation that don't require software like I'm talking about. So know that. But what I'm specifically talking about is using personas inside of marketing automation. So you have to know who that person is to be able to attach a persona to them. You have to have a guest name, ideally a phone number and an email address at the least. That goes back to a lead generation strategy and having that in place to be able to then effectively attach personas to people. So that's kind of where you would start. And then once you're tracking that, you can track that by having conversations on the phone, excuse me, and training your staff to be able to update those personas as they're discovering them on phone calls, which can be used as a tag in your CRM. You can tag a person with a particular persona. You can track that based off activity that they do. So most marketing automation software will have if-then built into it. So it says, if they go to this blog, then do this. If they go to this blog, add this tag is kind of how that would work from a software perspective. If they go to my top 10 adventure activities blog, add the adventure persona to that person. Add the tag adventure to that person. So getting nitty gritty, that's what it is, right? We're just putting a tag on a record in our customer relationship management software. So that's one of the ways you can do that. You can also do that by actions that they take, things they download, properties that they book, rooms that they book. There's lots of ways you could trigger a persona and track that, but it starts with having software in place to be able to do that effectively once you've built your accurate personas. So hopefully that answers your question and doesn't make it muddier. I know this isn't marketing 101, right? So this is kind of some senior level stuff, and you can get much more sophisticated than this, even just within marketing automation. I wanted to give you guys some next steps you could take as we look at marketing automation as a whole. So here's some examples of that as well. Here's actually some software that we use. This is real live examples that I pulled yesterday. So the now on these was 8:15, so you can see real live data. I'm going to zoom in on some of this so that you can hopefully get a better idea of what we're looking at here. This is an example of a guest lead that we could build a website persona off of. The website persona this person got attached to was hot lead because they visited the website 3 times in 3 days and went to a total of 146 pages. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. It's a lot of pages. It's a lot of things, but it's definitely a hot lead. So we automatically attached persona hot lead to this person. Now, we weren't able to attach other personas at that time. I didn't know. I didn't know if they were booking family or romance or adventure. They converted as a lead on their second visit. So they filled out a form on their second visit. And then on their third visit, so after converting on a lead on their second visit, they got enrolled in, or they triggered a marketing automation campaign, which started to drip out to them. And it sent them an email that next day. That next day, they booked off of that email. And I can't show you the whole flow right now, but they booked off that email that they got because they converted them as a lead the day before. So converted them as a lead, triggered an event to happen, booking came off of that triggered event. So this is an example of a couple things. One being a trigger-based marketing automation campaign running to this person. And I'm going to zoom in and show you this so we can see this real time. So on 8/12, they visited my website. That's what that icon represents. On 8/13, they visited it again. On 8/13, they filled out a form, which is what that represents, which is what I described as generating a lead. The email went out to them on 8/13. On 8/14, they used that email to come back to my website and make a booking, booked with us. After that, we stopped sending them email. They came in, they made their booking. Now that they are a guest, they will get involved. They will get future email from us, but we stopped sending that email at that point. And you can see this is their visit from August 14th that resulted in the booking. You can see their path through. So we can track every property they view. We can track everything that they're doing on our site through this process. So I know everything that they did. One of the other important things, and this is the software piece of it, on 8/12, this person came to our website for the first time. This person's name is Bruce. I probably should have blocked his last name, but his person's name is Bruce. On 8/12, he came to my website, did not convert as a lead, but our software dropped a cookie on his computer. When it dropped a cookie on his computer, and then he came back on 8/13, that cookie did not know who he was. It was an anonymous person, but it started tracking his behavior. I don't have that to show you here, but on 8/12, I could click on that, and you can see all the pages he viewed on 8/12. On 8/13, we kept tracking his behavior. When he converted as a lead, it activated that cookie, and it gave me all of his history. On 8/14, I got to see all of his history because my cookie was active. If he comes back in 6 months, I will know he's back on my website because it will track it, and it will notify me he's back on the website. And I can choose what to do with that information. We don't, in this case, have a marketing automation campaign running to those people that come back, but we could, or you could reach out and contact those people manually if you wanted to. So that's an example of that. I need to keep moving along because I'm starting to run out of time. I never run long, but I am today. This is an example of a property management lead. This is specific to vacation rentals. So those of you in the hotel world, the B&B world that are with us, not as relevant to you. But on 8/14, Jeff Budd came to our site. I've got his picture here. Probably also should have blocked that because it pulled it in from his Twitter profile. So our software does that. So you get to know a little bit about Jeff Budd and who he is. I would put him in my family persona because he's got a picture of his family as his profile pic. That's a manual thing you would have to do. The software doesn't know that's his family. I'm just guessing that. But what we did do was he visited our North Myrtle Beach property management page. He downloaded or became a lead on our 7 tips to boost rental occupancy lead generation offer and went back to our property management page after that. He was only on the site for a minute. He was on the site 1 minute, but I got all this information in 1 minute and generated a property management lead in 1 minute. And I know he came to my site off of a Google search. So that's awesome. It tells me my SEO strategy is working as well for property management keywords that we're going after. And now I have him in my property management persona, which again, if you're in the hotel B&B world, not relevant. You don't have a property management persona. If you're in the vacation rental world, that's a very important persona for you. So I wanted to knock through that real quick. A few elements of a great marketing automation offer. So if you're going to use personas to drive marketing automation offers, which is a great way to do it, offers being things to get people to book, here are some things you need to think about. We talk a lot about awareness, interest, desire, and action, AIDA, and marketing follows that flow. Awareness, generating awareness for your product, interest, creating interest in your product, Desire moves beyond interest, gets closer to action. And then finally, action. That's the booking piece of that. So there are a few different ways you can use that inside of marketing automation. Awareness of an offer, event, or reason to visit. Concerts, special events, those types of things. Special offers you might be running. That's awareness. You need to use marketing automation to create awareness for those things. The awareness for the Grove Park, in that example I gave earlier, created awareness in me that the room I was staying in was available the next night, and they were willing to give that to me at a discounted rate. So they created awareness of that. I hadn't even thought about whether the room was available the night after we were supposed to check out, but it made me aware of that fact. And then I asked my wife, hey, do you think we can stay over again? And she said, no, we need to get back because we have a child, Matt, and you have adult responsibilities. You can't just be on vacation. So she was very gracious to have that conversation with me at that moment. Interest driven by good storytelling, right? Good storytelling within marketing automation will create interest. Desire, kind of left this one blank because you can go a lot of ways with desire and how you create desire within marketing automation. But then action driven by scarcity and urgency. Scarcity and urgency are important parts of a marketing automation campaign, especially as you're thinking about rebooking campaigns. You don't want a rebooking campaign to go on without scarcity or without urgency because then you'll just end up leaving money on the table for the next season. So the value of rebooking campaigns is getting someone to book earlier than they would have otherwise for a future date. So you have that booking on the books, which allows you to drive revenue management. It allows a lot of other things, get more aggressive, yada, yada, yada. But you have to attach those rebooking campaigns to scarcity and to urgency to do them effectively. And scarcity and urgency can be some of the most effective marketing strategies as you're working them into various parts of your overall marketing strategy. All right, got a couple more slides, I think maybe one more. Marketing automation of the future. We've talked a lot about email, and email is the primary communication medium of marketing automation as it exists right now. I also talked a little bit about how we're using text messaging in marketing automation with our 5-star app, which if reputation management is a hot topic for you or you need to drive more 5-star reviews, email me or hit me with a message in the chat panel. I'll send you a link to that because it's a big deal and you need to be checking that out. Reviews are driving a lot of what is happening in search engine results right now. Reviews are driving how Siri is serving up search results. So there's a lot happening in the review space. You need to be a part of that. But we believe marketing automation of the future will take more of a 365-degree approach to guest communication. So it's very email driven right now. But as we're looking at the future of that, it's going to include text messaging. It's going to include apps and push notifications, as well as other types of guest communication. Who knows? Maybe telepathy is going to be part of 365 degrees of guest communication in the future. And understanding what message on what platform at what time. Now, that's a bit advanced. That's a bit looking into the future, but something to be thinking about as you're planning your marketing automation campaign. And you can start to think about what's the best medium for this message. For the Grove Parks example, text messaging probably would have been a better medium for that message. For that, hey, the room you have is available the night after you check out, probably would have been a better message via text. Now, I shouldn't have been on my email. I was, but I probably wouldn't be in most cases in that situation, so I would have missed that opportunity. But a text, I can't miss that. If I have my phone, I'm going to see a text. So text actually would have been a better medium for that. Now it's just a next level software integration thing. And then the future apps and push notifications are going to be a big part of that as well. So I talked about some next steps that you can take. We know this is a bit advanced. We know there's a lot of information, and we want to help stand in that gap with you to help you figure this out. So you can request a free marketing automation consultation. So a little bit about what you'll get on that. We'll cover where people are entering your website, which is really important as you're on the question that was asked earlier by Lisa as far as how do I develop those personas. Understanding where people are entering your website is an important part of developing your personas and assigning personas. What content is most popular, and strategies to increase traffic, convert it to leads, and create marketing automation campaigns that book it, just like in that example I showed you today. So on that free marketing automation consultation, we would help you with those things. If you want to take advantage of that opportunity, all you have to do is respond in this poll. We're going to launch that poll. Should be coming up on your screen momentarily. Should be up there now. If you want to take advantage of that free marketing automation consultation, click yes, and we will follow up with you on information to be able to do that. If you don't want to take advantage of that consultation, just click no. If you could click one or the other, that would be awesome, just so that we can keep things moving forward. That would be great. So if we can get those votes in, I need to get it to about 70% voted before it will let me move things through. So click yes or no. Yes, I want to take advantage of that marketing automation consultation, or no, I don't. And we won't send you any more information about that. So yes or no. If we get you to vote on that, that would be awesome. As we're doing that, you can start putting questions in the chat panel as well. So please put questions in the chat panel, and we will get to our Q&A and be able to get those questions answered for you. See a couple questions popping in there already, and we will get those questions answered. All right, question here from Lisa. What software is this? This is actually a software that we use on behalf of our customers. It's called SharpSpring. There are tons of marketing automation software out there. It's really important that you pick the right one for you. So don't just go out and buy one and start trying to use it. You can spend a lot of money and not have an effective use of it. You really need to plan that strategy before you just go out and start using something. But SharpSpring is one of the ones that we recommend. Depending on how much traffic you have, how aggressive you're going to be with marketing automation, would depend on which one you should use. MailChimp has some marketing automation built into it as well. Not quite as sophisticated as what I showed you on the webinar today, as does Constant Contact, as does a lot of the big email marketing providers have marketing automation built into them. You just can get a little bit more advanced with something that's really built for that total experience, not something that was just added to later on. Question from Nancy. You mentioned reviews. We are up to 52 Google reviews. What should our goal be? We are a small boutique-sized company. Great question, Nancy, and it's difficult to say just like a flat-out goal. The goal should be, as far as a number, the goal should be quality, consistent 5-star reviews. That's what we have found matters, is quality, consistent 5-star reviews. It's not like you can get to 50 or 100 or 1,000 and say, whew, nailed it, reached our goal, we're done focusing on Google reviews. As important as reviews are in today's travel economy, it needs to be an ongoing part of your marketing strategy. And you just need to have that running all the time. And that consistency and that quality is what will win that game for you, as opposed to trying to get to a particular number, think you're done, and then your competitors pass you up. So consistent quality reviews is the key to success there. Let me get this poll closed and get our Q&A up on the screen. All right. So that's it. If you have any other questions, let us know. Be happy to answer those questions for you and help you figure all that out. Happy to answer those. You can contact us via the chat panel. I'll answer them right now. You can get my email address as well as my phone number there, and we can answer your questions directly there. Follow-up question from Nancy. So the fact that our reviews are all 5-star means we rank higher. It is a ranking factor. It's not necessarily going to guarantee that you rank higher, but it is a part of a ranking factor. Ranking is much more involved than just reviews, but it definitely is a part of it. Couple comments about hoping to see you in Orlando. I will definitely be there. Look forward to seeing you as well. And thanks for tuning into the webinar today, Tracy. Any other questions? Looks like we're done. I thought we'd have more questions off of today's webinar based on the depth of our content, but looks like maybe I should just slow down and use a few more minutes there on the content. But that sounds good. But with that, we'll get things wrapped up. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Hopefully you can take what you've learned today and start applying it into your business and getting some effective use of time and budget from a marketing automation perspective. Everybody, we'll talk to you soon.